What's going up, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of Tips on the Beat with D.Royul, where I, D.Royul, will be making a beat, and I'm going to give you 5 insights into how I made it to hopefully spark some fresh inspiration for you as you're creating music in your own life. Today's beat is going to be one that is connected with a remix I actually posted on my page maybe about a month ago. Now, the artist who did this song called Feel That Vibe is called Govna B. He's a UK gospel rapper. I really enjoy his work. And this was one I actually did a while ago. I had just never put on my page. Now, I never put it on my page, but over the years I'd listened through the track and I'm like, man, I really like this. So I decided to share it when I finally got some time. And of course, when I share it, I want you to see how I was thinking differently than whatever vein I generally work when I'm making music, because it really came out in a way that I wanted it to, and I'll explain why once I get to tip number 5. So no need to belabor the moment anymore. Let's take a look at how all of it came together. All right, tip number 1, use sounds that you never touch in your music library or your sound library on purpose. So what I did with this song is I was scrolling through my synths and I came across a sound, that little pulse sound that I did in the beginning. And I was like, I never touch it, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something with this. And I started the framework of the song with that. I forced myself to think differently, to be creative in a way that I never have before with something that possibly turned me off, but I sat down and I made myself use it. So you do that for yourself. See where it takes you, because you really don't know the length of your creativity until you force yourself to get uncomfortable in a process. Tip number 2, play chords that don't exist if they sound fine. What happened in that chord progression on the 3rd one, that first time around, I kind of messed up. I think I was trying to play a minor chord, right? But my finger stayed in that position, but I liked how it sounded in that first half of that loop. So I kept it. And it creates a very interesting part of that chorus, because that's what I'm building right now, is that in the first half, it has a dissonant feeling that sounds different than the second half of the dissonant feeling. So there's this emotional roller coaster that's happening. Even in a chord progression that loops twice, there's one thing different in the first half that, of course, the average listener can't necessarily break down, but they can feel the difference, so that the second half of it still has an emotional pull, but it's a bit of a relief from when that first one created. These kinds of emotional dynamics in music, it's all about the push and pull. So you find these happy accidents. So don't be afraid to leave it in there, even if you can't call it anything. Tip number 3, use sustain and pulse to create a very interesting dynamic in the track. And what that means is to sustain something is to hold it out. The very first chord that I played, I was holding the chords down a lot more than the other parts of the song that I was adding in. The ones that were playing, they were playing the exact same notes or the exact same melody. They were following the same chord structure. But as I went further along, I was doing a lot more pulsating, meaning I was going dum 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 dum. Where the first one I just held them down and changed the chords. Them layering on top of each other, it creates a pulse in the rhythm as if the sustained chords are also breathing, or like doing like what's called like a wub kind of sound, like you hear that in dubstep. When that was super huge, everything was like whoa, 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 because it's really holding the note down and just kind of making it act as if it's a heartbeat pulsing. So when you're adding instruments on top of things that are being held, it creates that kind of pulse in the track because they're all playing the same chords. The melody is following the same chord structure, but it creates an effect in the music that, not putting a whole bunch of effects on, it naturally does that. So now I didn't have to go in, I didn't have to do a bunch of editing, because layering the sounds on top with the same melody line on top of the same chords that was following all together. So when you're listening to it, when I put the drums in there, it has a drive to it that would not have been there had every single part played the simple 1, 2, 3, 4 step down the chord structure. Tip number 4, to have a successful build or a rise in your song, you're going to make sure that the notes and the energy are steadily increasing. You hear this all the time in electronic music. It's the build up for the drops. It's when the snare just hits, and sometimes the sweep comes from a low pass up to a regular setting, and you know the kick comes out. Sometimes the kick is just there and the snare comes out. But it's the fact that you're creating an atmosphere of rising energy. And what I did, if you saw, there was in the intro and in that last part that I did, which is between the second chorus and the third chorus, it's just a little break. It's an opportunity to create energy uplifting to before I hit back to the chorus. And the first part that I did was the intro. It's to get the listener ready to get in the atmosphere of whatever song they're about to jump into. You know, there was sirens going, there was just a sound that was going up, there was a pulsing synth that was going octave between each other, and when you listen to it, you're like, oh, okay, hey, something's about to start. Every single song that makes you do that, it has that kind of a rise in the energy. And so those successful build-ups, there's nothing wrong with creating something off of a template that has already been set. Everyone knows that that's what you're trying to do. I mean, you could create something brand new, sure. But if you were to, you know, remake something that has already been done, you're not stealing or anything like that. That has been happening for decades in music. And now for tip number 5, which is a little bit of story time. It's put yourself out there when you see opportunities to do so. Now, what put yourself out there means is take opportunities as you see them come. What I saw, I believe this song that you just heard, I created in 2015, 5 years ago. I saw a tweet from Governor B saying, hey, I'm looking for remixes for this track. Any producers out there, give me your best. So I said, yo, send me the instrumental, the acapella, and I'll do what I can. So I sat down and I actually did all of these things that I put in this episode already. And I really wanted to stretch myself because I know that UK gospel has a really cool sound. I really do like a lot of it. It's not my natural bend. But I was like, let me stretch myself and try to connect with something that I know this guy would probably like. So I made this. I emailed it to them. They didn't pick it. clearly, because it's not officially released anywhere. But in our email conversation, he was like, yo, man, I actually really like this. We're going to go back to the studio and we'll listen to it. And the fact of the matter is, I've gotten less responses from people who have reached out to me specifically. So the fact is that I put myself out on a limb and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try it. He could say yes, he could say no, but I'm going to try. And by me trying, I at least got some, affirmation from the guy who was looking for this remix, that he actually liked it. So now I have a song that I like. It sounds different than anything that I've ever done, and I have a sense of accomplishment from pushing myself outside of my limits, outside of my usual boundaries. And I can actually say that I got the emails for it, that Governor V liked my remix, though they didn't pick it. So for a situation for you, if you see some artist is looking for beats, the only thing they could say is no. Just keep doing it, keep trying, keep looking out. Someone might say yes, someone might not, but you are going to grow through the process no matter what. And there you have it. Another episode of Tips on the Beat is in the books. Now let's go over the 5 tips that I talked about to refresh your memory. Number 1, use sounds that you don't use on purpose. Meaning the sounds that you actually pass through when you're scrolling through your sound bank. Force yourself to create something off of the sounds you always look over. You never know what you're going to find yourself able to make. Number 2, use chords that don't exist. You pull out notes, or the notes that you're playing are so close together. If it sounds cool in the moment, use it. Number 3, sustain and pulse, meaning you're using the same chords, but one might be holding it down and the other one might be doing some type of pulse motion or a quarter note or an 8th note rhythm. It doesn't take away from where you're going melodically, but it definitely creates 2 rhythms that work in tandem with each other to create a different feel in the song. Number 4, successful builds have rises in notes and energy. It's all types of electronic music, whether it could be EDM or dance and stuff, have the build where when that pulse is going, you're hearing at least the notes might be rising up, or just the sound that goes ooh, and it builds up the energy. It's just natural. So you want to have something that creates that emotion if you're going to have a successful build in your song. And number 5, put yourself out there. If you see opportunities, take them. You never know how it's going to stretch you. And if you stay comfortable, you will never grow, whether it be music or any other area of your life. Take challenges, grab them by the horns, because they say, if you shoot for the moon or the sun, you'll still reach the stars. And I guess that's okay if you're trying to go into space. But overall, if you don't take the opportunities, you are going to miss out on all of them. So thank you so much for watching this episode. Remember to like and subscribe. Go back and watch some of the other videos. And any of the beats that you like, you're interested in purchasing, email the email in the description. And remember, everybody, creativity has no boundaries. Use your God-given gifts and talents today to create something fresh. But as always, make sure you're having fun while you do it. All right? See you next time.